Live from London, this is Talk Women.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Talk Women, where today I am joined by the wonderful Emma Trimble. She's a broadcaster, as well as Laila Cunningham, Reform UK's London mayoral candidate. Oh my gosh, I feel like we've just recorded a podcast already just sitting down here, so we've got a lot to get into today. Some really beefy topics going around, especially very female-centred. That kind of does lead me into London crime. Obviously, that is all in the media at the moment. Laila has announced that she's running for mayor in London. I mean, Laila, how's it been since you made that announcement? I feel like the flurry, it's like no other I've seen.
No, you're right. Like, it depends. It depends what I read. So as I was saying, on X, I'm either an Islamist with a secret tattoo, a call to Al-Qaeda, or... on the other side, they call me a Mossad double agent. That's why my parents fled from Egypt. And then on the other side, because I dared to attend a pride march with my gay friend. And by the way, I'll always support gay rights. So at the end, it ended up being that I'm a woke Islamist Mossad agent, which it's quite unique.
I don't know. Anything's better than Sadiq Khan in my view.
Yeah, well, but it's
I'll
all
take
false.
it.
But actually, the response I have has been amazing, because actually just people really, it's not about left or right, people just really want a safer London. And so in that sense it's and nobody's actually held him to account. So as soon as I announced, he came out and said that homicide rates are down, but that's the thinnest slice of the pie. Rapes up, murders up, rapes up, robberies up, thefts up, everything is so up. Knife crime up 70%, and yet he comes out guns blazing about homicide.
You could be Al Giuliani, because it's dealing with those lower level things, the broken window theory. You want to deal with all of the shoplifting, the muggings, the phone snatching, all of that, and then the bigger stuff will kind of take care of itself, not entirely. Obviously you will still have people murdering each other, that's human nature. What are you going to do about it? But I think you could be Al Giuliani.
Well, the thing is, you don't realise a murder has a 95% charge rate, investigation rate. Every other crime, do you know what the charge rate is? 6%. That means 94%, and that includes rape victims, don't get a look in.
Oh, he's totally sort of confecting the numbers in my view, and, making sure that his replies are off on Twitter so no one can come for him. He really is living in an echo chamber of his own. I mean, I was at the NBA basketball match on the weekend. Well, I thought of you because I know you're a basketball player, and I thought, this is exactly where, if Laila was mayor, she would be.
I'd be playing, hopefully.
Well, the cameras panned to Sadiq Khan, who was there enjoying himself, and there were massive boos, in the crowd. People really hated him, and I was starting to think, well, this is actually the real life reaction.
Exactly.
This is a bunch of Londoners who are around the mayor, and it takes a lot for a crowd like that, who's definitely not something, it wasn't a reform rally or anything. They were all booing him. People were saying, swearing at him, etc. So there was a real hatred for Khan. I mean, it wasn't a focus group, but it was a mood that day.
He'll say they were Islamophobic. That's what he boils everything down to.
Exactly, which is why the Cunningham Khan ticket is such an interesting change to London politics, because there's not much they can say to you. I mean, you're a Muslim woman, so you've actually lived a lot of these experiences, and you'd be able to bash down any this and that. So what would your policies be to try and sort of usurp Khan? Because he's been sticking in there.
I don't think he's ever had a credible challenger, to be honest. And I know from the Conservatives, they kind of gave up on London a long time ago. I mean, they barely hold any councils, and they don't have any. They only have I think 9 out of I don't know how many MPs. And so that's why I framed it Khan v Cunningham, because the Conservatives don't care, and I don't think he's ever had someone to actually challenge him who really brings the fight to him. The problem with Khan, like you say, is that he doesn't believe in accountability. And if you do say London's dangerous, it's because he's Muslim. You're attacking him personally. And he hides. And everything is down to identity politics. And what I want, the London I grew up in, I don't know if any of you grew up in a similar town. We didn't care where you're from. You grew up in a council estate, black, white, gay. We were all just mates. We were all just Londoners. We weren't just all in a different demographic box. He divided and conquered. And so I want to unite and not conquer. I want to give London back to Londoners.
And it's remarkable that they have accused you of being the one, and Reform of being the ones who are sowing division.
Exactly.
Rather than the obvious fact that, I mean, I grew up also in East London.
Right.
My dad's family have been here for generations. My dad was, in East London in the 50s and 60s when the crime was really bad, and he thinks it's worse today than it ever has been before. He's completely ruined this city.
It's a different type of crime than your dad had, I think.
Yeah. That's more machete based than.
It's also more random. I think there was a lot of organised crime when your dad grew up. There was the Craze brothers and things like that. I'm guessing his age. I think now it's literally random.
Yeah, and also I think the other thing is that crime is so completely universal as well. That I now live in a sort of slightly bougie part of London, and it's a very left wing area, and I saw someone get mugged from a steak while coming out.
All the time.
Out of the co-op.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Kensington, and someone got shot outside my flat with a gun in gang violence. So it doesn't matter.
No. A friend of mine had people outside of his house in Stockwell just wandering around with machetes. So
I had a machete fight in front of my building, and I live in Paddington. Like, I came out of a pub, and today a moped rammed into the Rolex shop in Knightsbridge, broad daylight. Why not? It's just brazen.
Everybody has dozens and dozens and dozens of these stories.
And then
every single week I see someone get their phone snatched.
Is that I spoke to a woman who was raped, and she's a producer for a quite famous singer, but what's her name? And the police said, we're not going to charge it. The police decided. And I wrote to the police on her behalf and said, why are you not charging it? And the reason why they're not charging it is because she was smiling on the CCTV before she went up. And I have the email here. And they said, we cannot be sure that a jury would convict. I said, it's not up to you to be judge and jury.
Mm. This is the other thing about the crime statistics, though, isn't it? Yeah. That actually so many of these, the point is that so many of these crimes, never mind, not actually going to trial, they're not even being investigated.
No.
The shoplifting is not being investigated. You call up the police with some petty crime, maybe they record it, but, they're not doing anything about it. When I had my bike stolen during lockdown, I called them up and they just said, look for your own bike on Gumtree.
Wow.
It is
they don't even bother. So people won't even. Now I know of people who don't even bother to report crimes because they know that the police aren't going to do anything. Yeah. They're not going to deal with theft or muggings or shoplifting.
Yeah, it does actually, the whole system does need to be sort of
100%.
changed. Because I've also, had the police called 3 times to my place in the last 3 years, and we got into that in previous episodes, but it's been really traumatic. And even I speak to them in a journalistic capacity and I go, what's going on? Why can't you do anything about it? And they go, well, we can't because, so-and-so, the profile of this person is someone that we can't really have seen to be hard on. I have literally had that as a police officer said to me, yes, because it was around Carnival. And that's a whole other discussion for another day. But what policies would you put in place? Because I think you make a really good point, Emma, about Giuliani's New York. London is absolutely in a pre-Giuliani type phase. Would you start introducing stop and search? Would you be scrapping ULEZ? Right.
So what people don't realise is that Sadiq Khan is the police and crime commissioner. He sets the priorities, the direction and the budget, which is massive. So he did he created a specialist unit for hate crime words. So I would create specialist units for, number one, to hunt down the rape gang offenders and anyone who covered it up. And specialist units for knife crime, which has gone up by 70%. He halved stop and search because he politicized it. But data always shows that if you stop someone, they have a knife and you remove it from them, you do stop a knife crime occurring. So I would ask the police to police without fear or favour. And I would ask the police that if someone's covering their face, that they can be stop and searched. Right now, that's not the case. And people have said, oh, you're against the burqa. Actually, I've spoken to some shops in Knightsbridge who they say women come in a burqa, or they don't know if it's women, and they do steal. You cannot have a cloak of anonymity for people because I've prosecuted those type of people. They're impossible to prosecute.
Yeah.
So that means in a city with rising crime, there's no accountability.
No, absolutely. It doesn't seem like that. And I totally agree with you. Things like face coverings will weed out a lot of the sort of offenders that, you're right. They do just move through the city without any consequence. And I get so unnerved sometimes when you're on the tube and you see someone with a full face covering. You think, what are they What are they planning to do? What's going on? I mean, that's definitely the easiest way to start getting rid of that sort
and
of
also
thing.
It creates a sense of alienation because it takes, it signals control of an area.
Yeah,
like if you go to parts of Whitechapel and Bethnal Green and you just walk down on the street as an uncovered woman, you feel as if you are being actively alienated by the community there.
And that's, sorry, and people have come at me because I've said that some parts don't feel like a British city anymore. And that is one part. And I've spoken to people who are from there, who are British, and say that they do feel alienated and they no longer feel it's their city. And for me, that's unacceptable.
And if you were a Muslim woman living in that area, surely you would feel pressured to dress that way because the community, I imagine, would be
depends what your
looking at you
is.
as if you're...
But wearing the burqa is not a Muslim thing. So I've never met anyone, I don't know anyone who wears a burqa. There's no one of my friends or family. And it's a very radical Muslim tradition. In fact, the Quran just says you have to be modest. But obviously, it's open to interpretation.
Every now and then you even see the Afghan style with the mesh. And
that's why I'm more than happy to remove it. In Tunisia, you can't wear it.
Well, when we talk about the burqa, do you think just sort of a pushback on that would be that these women might then be forced to stay indoors if it is banned? What would you say to that?
I would say that we have a serious problem with who we've let into our country, right? If we have families who are banning their wives or their daughters from leaving the house because their face isn't covered, then we have a country that is no longer tolerant, is submissive. You know what I mean? We've given in, and that's effectively what happened. We don't have any assimilation requirements from people that move here, no language requirements, no integration requirements, and that's what you happen. You have places in Whitechapel where people who are from, British people who've built this city no longer feel at home, and for me that's unacceptable. You wouldn't find it anywhere else in the world.
I would like to refer to a clip of Sadiq Khan, who for some reason, it's a female show. We don't really see much of his wife. We don't really see much of his daughters that he sometimes talks about. Let's play that clip.
Firstly, it's really important I say this because I feel this, but, one homicide is one death too many. One violent crime is one victim too many. But the progress we've made, even our harshest critics will have to accept, is remarkable. Evidence published today by the police shows that last year we had the fewest number of murders, homicides, since records began on a per capita basis. The fewest numbers of under 25s killed this century. The lowest number of teenagers killed in almost 3 decades. And there's a number of reasons for that. We have had a sustained focus on a public health approach to addressing violent crime, being tough on crime enforcement, supporting the police with record investment, and tough on the complex causes of crime by early intervention and prevention. So we set up the country's first violence reduction unit in 2019. Since then, we've seen a 44% reduction in young people injured with a knife going to hospitals. And that means there are 3 times fewer young people being killed than 2019.
When you say a public health approach, do you mean treating knife crime, gun crime, murders almost like a disease?
Spot on.
Oh, like a disease. Interesting that, isn't it? Look, moving on. And speaking of that type of language used in politics, Lisa Nandy has basically accused she sparked criticism for describing this sort of hypothetical UK reform government as fascist, and said that opponents fray from political norms and risk normalising extreme labels. Look, with the death of Charlie Kirk, I thought that would at least be something to put a rest to this and say, no, we can't be vilifying our opponents in this sort of way. But I do feel like the left has almost become some sort of death cult where they have been celebrating deaths of people on the right, wishing violence upon them. Language that doesn't really get used in the other way, in my opinion. Emma, what would you say to that? Does this language escalate political tension?
Well, it's not only that the left don't learn, right? It's that they're on the one hand constantly talking about how we should be more civil in our politics, and then at the same time accusing everybody of everyone they don't agree with of being a fascist. I don't think that we should, go down the road of saying that for people who have called other people fascist are responsible, because it's the responsibility of the person who goes and commits violence that is responsible. The people who are responsible for the crime. But I do think, with Lisa Nandy, it's like, do you have no self-awareness at all? You are the ones who are cancelling elections. You are the ones who are getting rid of jury trials. So living in a glass house, don't throw stones,
Yeah, you're right. They're the ones who are kind of employing some fascistic type of policies if you actually look at it just broadly on paper. I was actually at a press conference with with the Prime Minister, and he didn't accept any right-wing outlets. I had many questions prepared for him, just didn't want to go there. And I was thinking, well, it's quite different because when I go to other conferences, Conservatives, Reform, etc., they do like to take questions from everyone. So it's quite hilarious and hypocritical when you think about it in that way. I mean, what would you say, Laila? I mean, you've been kind of at the end of this probably the last couple of weeks, and have you ever received sort of backlash like that ever?
Yeah, I mean, James O'Brien on LBC called me Lord Ha-Ha because I dared to agree with someone that I met in New York that London is dangerous. He called that treacherous as a Nazi sympathiser.
Yeah, they say that with whenever somebody goes to the United States and says something like Nigel Farage or says something negative about Britain, that they're talking their country down. It's somehow unpatriotic. It's like, no, they care about these things because they love our country and because you are ruining it.
I mean, I made this point that, you talk London down. I'm like, if I go to a doctor and he tells me I'm ill, he's not talking me down. He's he's saying there's an issue, and I've got medication to help you, and that's what. If you don't talk about it, it will never be solved. But like you say, fascists cancel elections. Democrats run in them, and we're ready to run in every council seat they've cancelled. But they're not. So
but it's also the inflation of the term, right? So you're calling everybody a fascist or calling people who are not Islamist. You're inflating the term so that those people who are actually that thing. Which actually we are now seeing people like anti-Semites on the right who are being very open about their anti-Semitism, and it's very difficult to point at that now and say, no, this thing is not right because all of us have been called fascists for so long.
Yeah. You're right, it dilutes the word.
100%.
It really does, and it's completely, I mean, it's quite crazy how everything's kind of flipped and we're living in this topsy-turvy land. But speaking of, I mean, Keir Starmer, he's been banning people again from Britain. This is something Australia had a massive issue with and still does, where they just like to say, oh, I don't like you, let's strike you off. But for some reason they let in a terrorist who went and killed Jews like fish in a barrel. So it's quite interesting, their process there. But anyway, look, a Dutch activist was basically banned. I always get her name wrong.
Vladingerbroek.
Oh, Vladingerbroek. That's the one. Because you knew her, right? Or you do know her?
I've known her for about a decade before she was involved in politics or anything like that.
Right.
And I know that she is obviously, especially by the standards of this government, who will arrest people for almost nothing.
Yeah, she's not
very much on the right.
I disagree with.
Cause for remigration, that kind of thing. I was actually surprised, not because I think she should have been arrested, by the way. I was surprised that she wasn't arrested after the Tommy rally, because the bar is now set so low that I thought they would have seen this fiery speech she gave and said, oh, she's inciting them to some kind of public order act or something like that, or at least that the next time she tried to come into the UK, that she would be, Graham Linehan at the border and arrested by armed police officers or something. So in a sad sense, I'm not surprised that this has happened because the bar is so low. But she has never committed any criminal offence. Nothing that she said in this country in any reasonable state would cross the threshold of any illegality. Her views are on the right, but they're certainly the idea that they're not conducive to the public good. Surely it's not conducive to the public good to exclude people from coming to this country in order to discuss certain issues, in order to give speeches. You're depriving the people in this country who organise those events from booking the people that they want to book from other places around the world. And we let in Islamists who go on speaking tours.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, if public good is the test for entering Britain, then the government's going to have to explain its standards, because a lawful visitor, like you say, I haven't heard her speech, but with no criminal record is banned for her views, but a convicted bomb maker from the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt is granted asylum, and we pay for his accommodation, the taxpayer does.
And then he went and raped
one of them
someone, didn't he?
I mean, that tells you everything about this government's priorities. Because
didn't we give a council house to someone from Hamas as well?
But you see, it's not about the public good. It's about control, right? And now it's, if you don't like what they say, that is against, if you criticize their policies, it's against the public good.
It's so completely nebulous as well. I mean, she's coming here and not just here, but also speaking in countries all across Europe. People might disagree with her, but you can't deny the fact that that her aim is actually to do good for European countries. She's not coming here because she hates Britain. We let people in every day who are like Ala Abdel Fattah, who is explicit that he hates he hates British people. He doesn't like this country. Doesn't like white people, and we just give him citizenship like it's nothing.
He'd never put foot in this country, and we granted him
and then you have all of these
citizenship,
people on the left who keep saying he's a citizen. He's a citizen. He set foot like yesterday.
Basically, we have a government that polices opinions more aggressively than it polices terrorism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's treacherous.
Totally.
You know?
If she came over on a small boat, she'd have no problem getting there.
I know. Well,
she could even have a 4-star hotel stay for free if she wanted.
But if you talk about not conducive to the public good, but you're letting in all of these undocumented young men into all of these communities. How's that conducive to the public good? It doesn't make any sense. It's entirely politicised.
Well, talk about stirring community tensions up. I've just spent a long time, sort of quite a few weekends in Hillingdon looking at that community that's surrounded by migrant hotels, and the primary schools
the highest number there.
Massively. And they are very upset because they've got people, I mean, I spoke to a mum who can't, feed her kids 3 times a day. And then you've got literally across the road from her a migrant hotel where they're getting 3 meals a day. Let's have a look at Eva and see how controversial she is.
So I just got an email I didn't expect. I have officially been banned from traveling to the United Kingdom. I'm not allowed to enter the country because the UK government under Keir Starmer deems my presence in the UK, and I quote, not conducive to the public good. I don't know what that means. Since when is being conducive to the public good a requirement to enter a country? I mean, especially the United Kingdom, where, if I'm not mistaken, thousands of illegal immigrants enter through the channel every day.
Whoa, really controversial opinions there. I mean, look, the thing about Eva is that I've looked into her. I didn't really know about her much before she got banned or barred. I looked at some of her stuff and I thought, okay, not exactly for me. I'm not exactly a fan of re-immigration. I mean, God, I'm an immigrant myself, Australian immigrant. So, the thing is, the power to listen to things and then make up your own mind is something that Keir Starmer's not giving the British people. He's basically infantilizing everyone and saying, I believe this is bad, so I'm going to bar her.
It's dangerous for you to listen to this.
Totally. And that's what almost makes it insatiable, because you want to then go and look into it.
But it's I hate the term systemic, but it is really sort of like deeply entrenched in the metropolitan liberal elite, this distrust of the people, and I think it's why they hate democracy. It's probably why juries are not something that is particularly important to them, because they don't even necessarily regard there as a sort of like the cumulative wisdom of the jury's judgment.
Yeah, they don't trust. They're statists, right? They believe in a bigger state to control every single thing, because in a jury trial, the judge works for the state, the prosecutor works for the state, everyone works for the state. The only one that doesn't is...
Same with the European Union.
Jury,
The European, I think so many of them regarded the European Union as the only thing that's stopping us from going to war with all of our neighbours, because they don't trust the governments of democratically elected nation states.
No, absolutely. I think it's...
and they say we're fascists. They don't trust democracy, is what you're saying, basically,
Yeah, they do. And he's using Brexit for all its bad things, like barring Dutch journalists from coming in. I mean, he's a madman. But I think it's quite interesting. Do you think he'll last until the next election in general? Just sort of...
Will we last? Will the country last?
Well, I guess that is the bigger question.
It is amazing that he's managed to hold on for so long. It sort of makes you think that if he's managed it for this long, then he might manage to... It feels like it's been such a long time, Laila.
I know, but it hasn't been that long in this whole, I mean, the next election
is 29. And the amount of damage that
has
been done in that short period of time.
And the amount of sovereignty he's given away, to us to make our own rules, you have to think, sometimes I think it can only be explained by a fundamental hatred for the people.
It's like Blair as well, that he managed to completely change the constitutional fabric of our society with this really insidious tinkering with things like the Supreme Court and bits and bobs here and there.
Well, the Human Rights Act as well, that gave all our power to Strasbourg.
And I think even in the short amount of time that this government has been in charge, they have managed to reap so much havoc. Even stuff to do with the House of Lords, that they've put this age limit so that Lords have to retire at a certain point. So all the older, more experienced Lords go, and then they will shove a load of their own cronies
which
in
they
there,
have,
which they have more than they've gotten rid of.
I know, even though they wanted to get rid of it initially.
Interesting,
it's
isn't
all
it?
hypocrisy.
It really
it's almost
is.
as if they don't believe in the things that they say.
Well, that's interesting because it's obviously resulted in the massive rise of reform. I mean, we've seen many defections in the past couple of weeks, and I know everyone's tried to skewer you on that, Laila. I mean, it's interesting. I saw a Newsnight even sort of huddling outside the Reform UK office and chasing you around like you were Madonna or something like that, which was great.
I had to
actually
get the building security to help me out.
I was like, oh, she's employed security. You probably should get security guards, to be honest, with the witch hunt that's going on.
Yeah, and the comments were, oh, Laila has her own security. No, it was actually the buildings one. But
hey ho. But it's all the defections. I mean, the Labour defection that was on the rise. Is that going to happen? I mean, it's kind of reform's changing at a rapid pace, and in a way, I agree with what you're saying. It's about the difference in it's a change in conservatism, and if you're on that team, then you can get with it. But if you're not, then you can be left to the wayside.
And look, if you're still part of the Conservatives and still saying they did nothing wrong, and they're the only solution to fix it, then yeah, I don't want you in the party and I have no respect for you. But to leave that and eviscerate the Conservatives like some did in their speech, that takes courage. To be like, I was part of it. They really destroyed the country and I want to help fix it.
Well, I remember I went to that press conference last week and I was thinking, oh, what's this going to be? Like, has Nigel even made it down from Scotland? Like, he was just there, is this just going to be... Well, oh, really? Yeah, I was there in the back. I was in the back sort of sweating because it's so like this studio. It's bloody hot. And and then he comes in and I'm like, whoa. And I started off being like, what's going on? Like, come on, this day. Like, it couldn't get any longer. But then the speech really picked it up for me. I thought, okay, he's with the edict. It does remind me a lot of what happened with Donald Trump and the Republican Party, where there are Republicans that were on the fence that had different views beforehand, and they said get with the doctrine or get out. So it's a really interesting political change to the landscape.
The Conservative Party has been two parties for such a long time anyway. I think COVID screwed up the great realignment that should have happened after Brexit, slightly stifled that. I claim no prophetic skills, but I did say just before Andrew Rosendale's defection that Andrew Rosendale was one of the people who was so naturally on Reform's side. So congratulations on getting Andrew. He's one of the most patriotic people that I have ever met. So I think there's to some degree there's a natural alignment. Of course, there is a risk for Reform that you take too many Tories and people just view it as Tory 2.0, and then it affects people's trust, because that's the big thing. It's people's trust in democracy. They feel that the Tory party has betrayed them so substantially that you have too many. Maybe it's not great optics.
The only difference I would say to that,
but people like Andrew, his constituents love him. It's about him, and they know that he is naturally aligned with Reform, and probably they are as well. And I think the people of Havering would love you.
I think the main difference I would tell people is, even if we do take Conservatives, there is a massive difference in leadership from how the Tories have been in the past 15 years. And leadership does matter. The CEO of a company, you've seen how Apple, when Steve Jobs died, it just became basically a cash cow. It didn't make anything new. You just lost your AirPod, you went to get a new one. You got an iPad, it wasn't really an innovative company, and that's because of leadership. And so I would say that Reform has a completely different leadership to Boris, to Kemi, to Liz Truss, in that it is very much put the British people first, British country first, and that is non-negotiable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also to see how politicians operate outside of things. I mean, I was at this Chinese embassy protest on the weekend, and Kemi showed up, and she sort of showed. Well, yeah, exactly. She showed up in like a motor, like it was a car with security and stuff, which I understand if you're the leader of the opposition, I get it. But she did her speech, which to be honest it was quite good. It was quite decent. She spoke about growing up in a dictatorship and how terrible it was and blah blah blah. But then she just left straight after. Yeah. Like directly after, straight back in the car, out of the view from the people. You guys are kind of scum of the earth type. It just felt like that a little bit. But that's
what Nigel is so good at. When you see him at the farmers' protest or whatever, it's just completely natural. There's no kind of the way that you see some politicians, particularly more senior politicians, when they go out campaigning. I don't like the term authenticity, but there is a complete lack of authenticity. It's very stilted. It's very transactional. I'm being nice to you because I want your votes. Let me kiss the babies and flash you a smile, that kind of thing. But with Nigel, it's real.
People. You see that even when he takes questions. He is there for the conversation. He is there to listen and absorb and represent people. And that tells you everything. The other parties, they're not really interested in people. They're interested in pursuing a particular policy, a particular ideology, even if it doesn't represent what the people want.
I think the other thing as well, just quickly about the Tories who are defecting, however many there might be defecting over to reform, that actually it's a fine line to walk, because back to your Trump analogy, the reason why Trump did so well in his second term, at the beginning of his second term, is because he hit the ground running in a way that he couldn't do the first time round.
Yeah.
And if you have just enough, the sweet spot of ministerial experience, people who've been in the system, peers, etc., then you will have that experience there ready to go. There's enough time before the next general election to pass that knowledge on to sort of apprentice people to the system so that they really are a government in waiting. If you don't have some strong defectors coming over from the Conservatives, people like Andrew Rosendale, who is naturally aligned with reform more, I think, than the Conservative Party. Right. Same with me. It's the reason why I left the Conservatives and went over to reform. It's not because I have changed, it's because the Conservative Party isn't conservative and the reform is now the most conservative option. You have these people coming over, and then you have the great benefit of being able to hit the ground running.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one can hope that will happen, but as many say, a week is a very long time in politics, so let's see what happens.
You never know, maybe Kemi will defect.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'll be the day. Yeah, it's very personality politics, and that personality politics is what's going round at the moment.
The thing is, you can remember, these people are so frustrated that they joined the Conservative Party and they have Social Democrats. You know, they people who are genuine conservatives with a small c, they want secure borders, they want law and order, they want low taxation, they want a good public sector, but they want the public sector to be paid for by a thriving private sector. And they get none of that under the Conservatives. Let's not forget, it was the Conservatives that were arresting people for tweets.
Totally.
You know, that's when it started. So it was the Equalities Act. It was Theresa May who actually cut Stop and Search and said because it targeted a certain demographic.
Not to mention immigration.
Yeah, you know, they said, well, we'll have it in the thousands. They had it in the millions. And so I get it. Some people are just so frustrated and they finally have a party that addresses all those frustrations and has a solution for it. And they're like, I want to be part of that.
And what about Labour? What about this Labour defection?
No idea who it
any
is.
Pointers?
No, I don't know.
Kate Hoey.
If she told us, she'd have to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to have a Labour defection. But yeah, it's just this sort of new brand of conservatism, but it's some policies aren't even conservatism. So it's really, I mean, absolutely pulling the carpet from underneath Westminster.
Well,
And
you know what
saying,
it is? It's patriotism, right? I think people are sick and tired of two political parties that prioritise the ECHR at the massive security risk to the public. They prioritise international relations. They've outsourced our production to China just to look good on the global stage. I think people just want a patriotic government that recognises they'll do whatever it takes. A bit like Trump in the beginning, whatever it takes to keep his country safe.
Yeah.
And respect him or not, you know, he's mad with Greenland. He's not mad with Greenland. He's really fighting hard for his country.
They just want Britain to not be serving everyone except the British.
Because if you're a country that can't stand for your own values and for yourself, then you really can't stand for anyone. You have to stand for yourself first.
Well, speaking of standing for yourself first, this is a bit of a sugary topic, but Brooklyn Beckham has decided that he's totally out with his family. I mean, family estrangement doesn't even begin to cut it. I was off to bed because I had something to do for breakfast at 8 p.m. going through exactly what the hell Brooklyn was talking about. It was sort of a notebook of lamentations from him. Look, I don't know if you've read it. I mean, I know you're not that busy at all. Neither are you, Emma.
The Twitter poll just before bed when I'm like, I'm so I must sleep, but what? Hang on, what's going on here? And then you're like, what?
I've got so many questions.
Yeah, exactly. When nothing's happening in politics.
Well, I know. He actually managed to usurp Trump off the front cover of the Daily Mail and all that. So Brooklyn really did triumph, I guess. Essentially, if you're not caught up with it, what he did is basically throw Victoria and David under the bus and say that they've been the worst parents ever in the world. They've used every single sort of media outlet to destroy him with lies. They hate his wife, who is a daughter of a billionaire over in Los Angeles.
And attractive, very attractive.
Very attractive. Yes, she really is. And apparently he basically wants to correct the narrative as to who he really is and what he's about, and he doesn't want any sort of apology from them. He wants nothing to do with them. I mean,
He did list why he's upset though.
Yeah, he did.
I mean,
there was the dance at the wedding,
which I'm trying to picture what
we all want to see this.
No,
video.
but yeah, agreed.
Because what word did you use? Unsuitable, inappropriate. I'm trying to think in what manner.
Was Victoria twerking on him?
Gangnam style.
or was she the centre of attention? I'm not exactly sure what inappropriate means. I don't want to think it was twerking.
I don't either. I don't.
We need some clarifications here, Brooklyn.
And then that she didn't attend a dog charity.
Yes.
For the
for the dogs in the LA fire.
I mean, can you think of worse parents? I mean, they're really, honestly, they are the top.
It's very Meghan and Harry, isn't it?
A bit.
Very. Yeah, I actually.
They didn't. The grievances he listed. I just feel like it's not. As my kids would say, it's not that deep.
Yeah. I totally agree. Brooklyn, it's not that deep. Genuinely.
It's not that deep. Like, fine, like, just don't talk to them that much, but.
Look,
it's a bit much to go and sort of list all of your grievances to the press.
But also, I thought the grievances would be really like something quite serious.
Well, exactly. Everyone's accused
we haven't
him.
seen the video.
Well,
no.
true.
It all hinges on the dance.
Yeah,
you're right.
I totally agree with you.
Was it Gangnam Style or was it Nicki Minaj?
Yeah,
we need to know.
Exactly. Or was it a posh rendition? Yeah, exactly.
She was never the dancer of the group, was she?
No,
I mean, maybe
but,
that's the biggest. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think also it's cultural difference. Like a British wedding is kind of sometimes it's like a throwdown. Everyone's getting drunk, everyone's enjoying themselves. Like maybe that's what Posh and David thought it was going to be, and then you've got these sort of more uptight.
I think though apparently it was at the moment when he was scheduled to have his first dance.
No, that's what I read.
And so she had usurped the first dance and wanted to dance with him before.
I can
he
just
danced
see
with
the
his
scene in
wife.
the movie, right? The movie. What? Get out the way! It's my turn.
Everyone get out!
And the bride going.
I don't want to see the film rendition of this. So
I mean, you're right though about Brooklyn having absolutely no concept of what trauma is. I mean, genuinely,
Like, read the room.
it's very first world.
yeah, people have accused him of being an unscrupulous nepo baby, and he really is. I mean, the man. I wish he had talent.
It's
but
also,
unfortunately
I
he
think
doesn't.
it's the other Meghan and Harry aspect of it is that he said that they just want privacy. They just want to live normal lives.
Yeah.
And it's like, fine, I don't want to be horrible, but finally Brooklyn Beckham has found something that he's good at and he's getting attention in the press.
Yeah, you're right. And he said that he hates it and he wants to live a life away. I think that's easy when you've married a sort of billionaire's daughter and all he does is sort of go around to flash restaurants in LA.
It's a shame because I saw that Beckham documentary. I'm sure you all did.
Yes.
And listen, I know it's a documentary, but they seem nice. It is upsetting, I think.
But apparently it's all an act.
There's no way, though, that a family like that with the two parents that are so A-list famous is going to be normal. It's going to come.
but
It's
they can
going to
still
come
be
with
love.
some kind of.
But there can still be love. I can imagine it's quite hurtful on all sides, whatever, if there's a miscommunication. But it must be hurtful for David and Beckham. And they don't seem like psychopaths, so they obviously love him.
They do, but apparently they blocked him. That his own family has blocked.
apparently.
Yeah, his siblings and his family blocked him. It's all very messy, and you know what? It actually just said every family's got their own issues. Every family's got estrangement. No one's above it. Clearly,
This was unnecessary because I didn't feel even that they were. I didn't feel that they were briefing against him, or maybe I missed it in my.
I didn't think they
With
were
my
either. I
Twitter
mean,
scroll.
I spoke to Kevin O'Sullivan, who's a friend of ours, and he covered
The expert.
he covered Victoria a lot back in the day, and he said actually they would never kind of do any of that stuff. So I am starting to wonder, is this him just trying to get out ahead of everything? God, who knows?
You never know, really. But there's nothing much worse than family estrangement, I think, to sort of tear the soul apart.
I agree. I think we can all at least sleep a little bit better at night knowing that
Knowing that they've all fallen out with
knowing
each
that the Beckhams hate each other. No, I'm joking. Knowing that my fight with my mom isn't quite as bad as
Money obviously
broadcasting it.
doesn't buy happiness.
No,
Not family bliss, anyway.
No, absolutely not.
I should tell my kids actually.
Well, it helps to estrange yourself when you're married to a pelt.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
And I know. It is a bit undignified.
I agree. But, airing dirty laundry, we love it in the media. Thank you. That's a good note to end on. Thank you both so much for joining me. That's Emma Trimble, broadcaster, and Laila Cunningham, Reform UK's London mayoral candidate. The Beckhams are Londoners. Maybe they'll vote for you in the next...
Yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah. That's the plea.
Smile and a wink.
Yeah. Brooklyn will come back and unite his vote just for the London mayoral elections. Well, thank you both so much. And join us next week for the next episode of Talk Women.